Jeff, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. If you're just tuning in, I'm here with Jeff Bach. His business is Bach Business Brokers. We're going to talk about today about why you should understand the value of your business and why you should understand the value of your business at all stages of your life cycle. Jeff, why is it important to understand the value of your business?
So Brian, every business owner should understand the value of their business for helping them make decisions and plans, many things, whether it doesn't have to be thinking about a sale, but at some point you're gonna transfer your business, whether it's by your choice or by someone else's choice that's out of your control. Much better if it's in your control. That every business cycles, nobody owns a business for eternity. So you should always have at least a pretty good idea what that business is worth, so that transition plan is somewhat in place. Also, so that you know, is there enough value there to sell and go on to the next stage in your life? It's a big deal for planning. If your business isn't growing and you don't know the value, what do you need to do to bring it to those next steps? And if you don't know the value, you don't know if you need to grow.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think what you said about, you are going to exit your business one day, I think that's interesting and probably something a lot of business owners don't think about, particularly if you're in the day-to-day operations of it and still in growth mode. There's going to be a day where it's over and you've got options. You're either going to walk and turn around and lock the door for the last time. You might transition the business to a family member, or it might be things outside of your control, like your failing health. Now, we know that most business owners are selling, either a straight up sale, mostly because they're retiring. That is the goal, right? You want to take one final payday, your largest payday you've ever had when you sell the business. But that's very much in flux, and why it's important to understand the value of your business. So, go ahead.
Absolutely, yeah.
So first of all, if somebody's contacting you about understanding the value of your business, I mean, that's all confidential, right?
100%. And not even every owner realizes the importance of confidentiality, but it can change the way the entire market looks at your business and damage your business, whether it's losing staff, whether it's losing large customers. It always works best to keep things as confidential as possible.
So you're looking for, if somebody wants to contact you, it's probably a good idea to do it through your private cell phone, your private email.
Right.
That seems like a good idea. And I know everything you do is not only confidential, but it's also complimentary too. I mean, you offer that to the industry.
Absolutely. We don't charge to give a broker opinion of value, kind of how I earn my keep and stay in touch with people. There's people that I meet, and every year we relook at tax returns and financials and help them plan. I'm not the financial advisor that helps them plan what to do with that money once they get it, but I can help them know when they're at the right point in their personal life to sell.
Okay, great. So if somebody does contact you, I mean, how do you begin to put a number on their business?
So it's a little different in the alcohol business than in most businesses, and it's complicated in any business. Standard businesses, to really oversimplify, you're taking a multiple of a seller discretionary earnings or an EBITDA, you're calculating that multiple, and then you have hard assets. Alcohol business, you have brewing and distilling equipment that always has a value, but you also have inventory, and we'll talk about that in a bit. Differences in every business, every industry has its intangibles. There's so many in the alcohol business that are really important to the value. Do you have a brewer other than the owner? Do you have a distiller other than the owner? Do you have a blender other than the owner? Are they going to stay? Are they willing to stay? Are they at market rate? Those are all important questions. If it's the owner, will you agree to contractually continue doing that for a buyer for a period that they're comfortable with, whether they're going to learn, whether they're going to replace you? Those can have big bearing on your value. And those would definitely be intangibles. And there's recipes. How good's your stuff? What kind of demand? What kind of website do you have? What kind of social media presence do you have? Those are all things that really need to be taken into consideration when valuating, when given an idea to a seller. They might have an unrealistic expectation.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot that goes into it. How long would it, if somebody contacts you, how long would it take for you to kind of do that analysis and get back to them?
That analysis, once I have some good conversation with the seller or just somebody who wants to know, there's, again, as you can see, a lot of questions. Once I get those questions answered, get some financial data in the situation that it is a revenue producing, sometimes they're pre-revenue. but there's still a lot of intangible and tangible value. Once I get all that data, it's just within weeks that we can get them a good idea of what to expect on the market. And even what a bank, maybe they're just wanting to grow and look for money, what a bank or an investor or partner would look at it like. So there's a lot of different reasons. Not everything is bankable. Banks don't understand the alcohol business overly well.
Yeah, I understand that. I like what you said. So in any Main Street business, usually the inventory that's sitting on the shelves is a depreciating asset. But in the liquor business anyway, right? It should be if all goes well, it should be an appreciating asset.
In the whiskey business, yes. And often it doesn't even have a whole lot of value until it hits a certain age, or at least it can't go to retail. It can't be sold till it hits a certain age. And that's a big problem with banks is they don't understand. That's not their normal model. Let's put it that way. So, what if you've got a whole bunch of 2-year-old juice and then some 4-year-old juice? What's that worth? And then when does it really become marketable? If you've got history, you have a pretty good idea of when that is. If you're pre-revenue, you just have to keep sampling, and it might be 3 years, 4 years, it might be 6 years. The value is going, dusting inventory in the whiskey business is appreciated. It continues to rise.
Now, you mentioned pre-revenue. So again, in most any other Main Street business, you probably don't have a sellable business if you're not making money yet in most cases. But that's not necessarily true in the whiskey business, right? Like we've up to this point, we've talked about straight sales, but there can be all kinds of creative financing options.
All kinds of things. So a few different parts of that. There's many people, and I've got a whole database of people that want to be in the whiskey business. Some of them they want to start from scratch, go buy the equipment, go learn. Those people are probably 5 years from any kind of revenue. So when they realize that they can buy or partner with somebody that already has that head start, there can be a significant value even pre-revenue for somebody to buy. Or there's a lot of things happen in small brewers and distillers both. And I talk to them every day. The two big issues that the majority have are money and distribution. So you're waiting 4 or 5 years till you can sell your product. Well, maybe you don't want to sell. Maybe you just want an injection. Maybe you want a partner that can help you get through and make it to the next level, continue making new product while you're waiting for your product to be able to hit the market. If you're an NDP, you can get your market to product much faster. And then there's the art, how do you blend? How do you finish? Somebody's got to know how to do that stuff. Do you have established business, established name? So many things that come into play that
Yeah.
don't necessarily come into play in a normal, just your average everyday business.
Right. Yeah. As a distiller, I mean, there's so many different ways to finance your operation depending on your needs. Whether you need a distribution partner, whether you need additional staff, just need to unlock capital because you're out of money. I mean, all kinds of different things. But I guess it all comes back to how we started the conversation, right? To even start to have those conversations, we got to figure out what it's worth today.
You got to figure out a value. And if that value is not big enough, sometimes it's when those partnerships or collabs come into place to make 2 or 3 that were too small become impressive enough to attract money or to attract the right distributors. There's a lot of ways to skin a cat in this business. But then it goes back to how much time do you have to wait? Can you make it a better thing to accomplish your goals, whatever they may be? One thing we can't do is time the market. We can't control the market. We can control what we do, but trying to control the market, look back at what we've seen in the last 5 years from COVID that gave us a big upside and now there's a bit of a glut, youth not drinking as much and cannabis coming into play and now tariffs and who knows what's next. Can't time the market.
That's good advice, no matter what industry you're in, probably. Well, I guess, I know you've done a good job kind of putting yourself in the middle of the industry there, and you've been called a connector. You can connect people with not only money, but other strategic partners and really help a small business move forward. But Jeff, thank you very much. I know if somebody wanted to learn more about you, bachbusinessbrokers.com is a site. You also see a link there to begin the process to find out what your business is worth.
Yes. And give me a call anytime.
Okay, sounds good. All right, we'll be in touch. Thank you very much, Jeff.
Thanks, Brian.